Well, hello, people. Nice to see you again. Before I get into the feature here, I just wanted to share a piece by an author, a journalist I followed for a long time that I like quite a lot. His name is Patrick Lawrence. I get a lot of pushback from some people whenever they read news about Ukraine that says that Ukraine might have a problem, and they just think it's nonsense. The game that Zelensky's playing, and he has to play, is West, NATO, America, give me more money, more weapons, more ammo, more tanks, more missiles, more anti aircraft stuff, more intelligence stuff, everything. And every minute is a crisis in Ukraine because Ukraine is involved in a huge war. So obviously, he's going to say more money, more better, more weapons, more better. The question is, will NATO give him enough, quickly enough, to bring a swift end to this? Meaning, if you want Ukraine to defeat Russia's aggression, Ukraine has to destroy Russia's army and destroy its capability to fight this kind of protracted trench warfare with coordinated guns and mobile artillery and whatnot. So if you read something that says Zelensky is asking the West for more because they have a big problem in Bakhmut, he's playing the game. He's a player, and he's doing what he has to do. It's not nonsense. He's going to ask for more. The question is, will America give him more? Because at the end of the day, it's America, really, that runs Europe. And Europeans are pretty pissed off about that. And many Europeans are anyway. But that's the point, okay? That's why he's saying if Bakhmut goes badly, we might have to negotiate something. And then hopefully Biden's going to say, we don't negotiate with terrorists and war criminals, despite, our side having plenty of war criminals. That doesn't matter. Never mind that. I shouldn't have said anything. But the point is, he's hoping, Poppy, Uncle Sam, and Joe Biden will just come across with it. Of course, there are industrial limitations to how much ammo we can make and how many tanks we can build if we don't want to give up, if France and Germany and Poland and all the other countries that are contributing don't want to give up their own capability to defend their own nation. And unless it's a real blatant war between NATO and Russia fought in Ukraine instead of just a proxy war, obviously then we'd have a World War II situation where everybody would pull out all the stops to industrialize around the war. And all of us would have jobs building weapons, or we'd be dying in Ukraine. But for now, it's good enough for America just to bleed Russia for a long time and hopefully gain the upper hand. And Putin will just give up. He'll just say, "Okay, take Crimea, take the rest of it. We don't want it anymore. I'm sorry, I made a mistake." And then Putin will have his head chopped off. And I doubt that's going to happen, but never mind. What the heck do I know? And what the heck do all these other commentators know when they get so worked up about any news that's contrary to CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, etc., that, want to paint this in stark binary terms of good and evil? It's just basically stupid. And you can find all kinds of sources out there, including the Moscow Times and TASS and Asia Times and outlets from India and from China. And keep in mind that the United States and Europe are a small percentage of the global population. So if the US is going to maintain its hegemon, and its empire, it's going to have to deal with the rest of the world one way or the other. And if the rest of the world starts to break away from the United States and say, we don't want your help, for example, maybe they want permaculture. Maybe they want to solve problems in their country their own way, and it doesn't include, you know, corporate domination by global neoliberal capital from the United States and the West. And believe me, people are going to push back eventually. And we're coming up to a time in history when we're going to have some major issues with migration and climate problems and so on. That's just a fact. And we're going to have to come to terms with limited resources and with global trade based on international law, coded by the players, by the people, by the nations, the republics involved, the states involved, not just a quote unquote vague concept of a rules-based order. Whose rules? Who obeys the rules? Is everybody held accountable? Obviously not. Okay? On both sides, on all sides. So I beg you, go on Globe Hackers' Facebook page and look at various URLs, links to information from conservatives, middle of the roaders, you know, far left, far right people who are looking into these things, and all of them doing their work. Now, everybody's biased, okay? We all have confirmation bias. We all play that game. We all cherry pick. We're all emotional creatures, not just logical, rational, scientific, critical thinkers. And so we're going to make mistakes in our analysis of things, all the while thinking we know it all because we watched one source or two sources of information on a screen and didn't bother to read anything or any books on the background of the history of the nations involved and so on, or even thinking about something more than the next quarter, you know, like grandchildren and so on. And I pity people with young children who don't want to pay attention because they already think they know it all. It's unfortunate. I really, really feel bad for them and because they're going to want to step up for their family. And part of that is being well informed so that you can make decent decisions as far as you can locally and through whatever power you have within your country to vote, to push. Now I'll get on to this article. So this is before I continue with my grayscale right-wing exploration, dealing with internationalism and things like that, little bugaboos that really piss off right-wingers. So anyway, Patrick Lawrence, he wrote this thing called French Streets and American Sofas. And basically, what he's doing is he's making a comparison between how the French piss right-wingers off. I mean, when I met Curtis Yarvin in Lisbon, he often brought up the French Revolution and the Jacobins and this and that and the other thing, and how unruly the French are. And it's true. And compared, what Patrick Lawrence is illustrating in his piece is compared to the United States, you know, they're out there. If they don't like something, they're going to go out and say so. He introduces, you know, the kind of history and French society and culture. Patrick spent more time in Asia, but he knows Europe well, and he's often here speaking. So anyway, he talks about Macron and how he's a neoliberal, you know, banker, investment banker, private banker, whatever he was. He was a banker before he became president and so on. And then he goes into characterizing Americans. And one thing that stuck out to me was he was saying that Americans are performative in their protestations. Now, I mean, back in the 60s and 70s, it was different. But it's LARPing. even taking over the Capitol on January 6th was like LARPing. Did people actually really think they were going to take over? There was going to be a coup, or, but Vice President Pence was going to do something. I don't know, maybe a lot of them did. We put some weapons in a hotel room, we can beat the army. But generally, whether it's Black Lives Matter, right, left, or center, when people, if it has to do with abortion rights or whatever, it's very tame. And they don't attack the structural and systemic and ideological and really core political issues when they protest. They don't go that deep, that far, because that would be just too much effort. And so you don't want to do that. It would take you too much time. It'd be too big a commitment. You'd have to know something about the policies. I'm not saying that all people in the States don't know anything about their government and whatnot. They also have a less cohesive culture. He brought that up. French people feel a collective responsibility towards one another on a certain level. They feel their Frenchness. And Marine Le Pen uses this all the time in her campaigns. They feel a responsibility to one another. They're not as Anglo as Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, right? There are only individuals. They don't have the same large cohort of frontiersmen, radical libertarians, or whatever. Well, they have some really interesting conservative groups. The New Left, French New Left is very interesting. I mean, New Right, sorry. And, they're more political, and they're willing to get up off the sofa and go do something. So it may scare the heck out of you. It would sure scare the heck out of Nixon. He'd have the school buses, rings around all the government buildings, trying to keep the hordes away. He would have been cowering in his closet, freaked out on the phone, recording everybody, trying to get the deep state to come and save his ass from the hangman's noose. And in this case, Macron is worried about the guillotine, but they don't do that anymore, thank God. Anyhow, I've got my protective layers of bling on. I've got my, animistic rainbow world. I got my Thor's hammer, my pagan, and my Celtic rope, just to kind of protect me from all this. And Lord, please do help me. I do believe that God was probably pagan for at least a couple 100,000 years, or animistic, or whatever. I wonder what people thought, about the mysteries of the universe 100,000 years ago. Because we did exist for 100,000 years, at least, right? 200, 250, maybe 300, before the one God came into the picture and suddenly lit up our minds. And you could say we were around for a long, long time before we had quantum mechanics, right? Or E equals MC squared, before that light turned on. It's all good, right? So I'm asking you to read that Patrick Lawrence piece. It's pretty good. Follow him. Go to Globe Hackers Facebook page. You can find my stuff. I'm going to try to put more things up there at cospelon.eu. It's all in the description of this video. Please subscribe, click like, and follow me. And so maybe we can do some collaborations in the future. Maybe I can meet Patrick Lawrence someday in Europe and interview him. That'd be fun. If not, I'm still enjoying making these videos, and I appreciate your being here to watch. Thanks a lot. William T.